Hello, friends. Most of us believe that it is our friends who will help us out when we get in trouble. Unfortunately, it doesn't always happen this way. And today, you'll get to hear about a slightly different option. This incredible story happened on the island of Sumatra, which is located in the western part of the Malay archipelago. The island is very beautiful, but unfortunately, it often gets flooded because of the heavy rains. Moreover, the heavy rains often cause landslides, which sweep away everything in their path. And that's exactly what happened in our story. The mud flow destroyed several large administrative buildings, as well as the fishermen's huts that stood in the way of the elements. Rescue services from many countries of Asia and Europe were immediately sent to the epicenter of the disaster to help the victims. Dismantling the debris, the rescuers made their way through the island. At one point, volunteers from the international organizations stumbled upon a house half covered with mud. Apparently, the landslide reached these parts at the very end of its deadly path, and so it only partially destroyed the hut. But that wasn't what surprised the rescuers the most. The fact was that there were about a dozen orangutans near the damaged house. They were shouting loudly and actively expressing their displeasure. Moreover, the group of red primates consisted not only of adult individuals, but also of infants who were only a few weeks old. Rescuers knew that orangutans are very reluctant to descend from the trees, and did so only when it was absolutely necessary. As they got closer, the volunteers saw that some of the adult primates were digging in the ground, trying to reach something hidden under the layer of dirt and debris. The rescuers found this behavior strange, as these animals always hide in the dense thickets when they see humans, so as to avoid any contact. Having reached the damaged hut, the volunteers began to dismantle the blockage, and a few minutes later, they heard a barely audible groan. For the rescuers, it meant only one thing. There was a person in the hut that got destroyed by the elements, so the volunteers set to work with double the energy. About an hour later, an elderly man was pulled out from under the debris. To the rescuers' immense surprise, it wasn't them who he started to thank, but rather the orangutans, who were still at the scene. Meanwhile, the red primates began to shout with joy and encircled the old man, who was getting ready to die just a couple of minutes ago. The rescued man was a local fisherman. Having calmed down a little, the man warmly thanked his rescuers and told his touching story. A few years ago, he rescued a pregnant female orangutan from the clutches of a leopard. The fisherman took the wounded animal to his hut and let her stay there until she gave birth. When the infant was born, the man thought that the primates would leave for the jungle, but he was surprised to see that they decided to stay. Over time, the orangutans got stronger, and having settled in the fisherman's hut, started seeing it as their home. Moreover, the man began to notice that other orangutans also started to come by, always treating the fisherman very friendly. Therefore, when the elderly man got in trouble, the red primates didn't abandon him and tried to help as best they could. The old man's story made the rescuers tear up. Fortunately, this story ended well. When the volunteers rescued the fisherman, they took the poor man out of the epicenter of the disaster, along with his devoted orangutans. The rescuers watched them and couldn't believe their eyes, realizing that miracles happen in the wild too. It is highly unlikely that smart primates would do anything against their own will, which meant that their desire to help the fisherman was sincere. It turned out that it isn't only people who are ready to come to their friend's rescue, but wild animals too. And that's all for today, friends. Share your thoughts about this video in the comments. If you enjoyed this amazing story, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.